Hello, this is Vishwit Shah. Welcome back. I am working as a lecturer in the Department of Microbiology, Vijay Krishna Girls College for the last 13 years. And in this particular video, we are going to discuss about what is plasmid partitioning.
Another important topic that we need to discuss about plasmid is the partitioning of plasmid. So whenever we are dealing with the plasmid incompatibility, we are dealing that two plasmid cannot be stably maintained. Whenever we are dealing with the plasmid curing, then we can say plasmid can be lost from a cell. So plasmid incompatibility means in a subsequent division, you don't have all plasmids in a cell. In plasmid curing, a cell may lost their plasmid. So plasmid is getting lost. But plasmid can also avoid being lost from a cell. A plasmid must be present within a cell. Like initially, whenever this is the diagram of plasmid curing, this is the plasmid DNA, the circle one, and this is the chromosomal DNA. So before division, they have the 2 copies of the plasmid and 2 copies of the chromosomal DNA. So after division, you have a cell, you have 2 daughter cells, both have 1 copy of the plasmid and 1 copy of the chromosomal DNA. But if you add acridine orange or acriflavin or proflavin or ethylene bromide, as a result, they will selectively inhibit the replication of the plasmid, and as a result, although the chromosomal DNA might be replicated from 1 to 2, as a result, both of the progeny can get the chromosomal DNA, but the plasmid is not getting replicated. As a result, only one cell have the plasmid, other cell is devoid of the plasmid. So it is this cell is actually losing their plasmid. So this phenomena can be avoided by the plasmid itself, and this is called plasmid partitioning. Plasmid partitioning means plasmid also avoid being lost from dividing cell by carrying the partitioning system. So by the help of partitioning system or PAR function, this is called the PAR function. PAR function, by the help of partitioning system or PAR function, plasmid is actually avoiding to be lost from a cell. Consider this is a particular cell. According to this particular diagram, they have the 8 copies of the plasmid. Actually, this cell must have 4 copies of the plasmid. Okay. Initially, say they have a plasmid that have the 4 copies of the plasmid, but before division, the copy number must be doubled so that the 2 progeny cell will get the plasmid. So as a result, you can see 8 copies of the plasmid is there. So it is just before division, the 4 copies of the plasmid is getting copied double amount, and as a result, the 8 copies of the plasmid is there. But normally, what is the phenomena that must happen? That is, the separation somehow occurs in such a way that the 2 progeny cell that they form, both progeny cell must be carrying 4 and 4 plasmid. But this phenomenon is not happening here, as according to this picture, one cell is carrying less number of plasmid and other cell is carrying a more number of plasmid. One cell is carrying 3 copies of the plasmid and other cell is carrying 5 copies of the plasmid. So say this cell is carrying 3 copies of the plasmid, but before division they must increase their number from 3 to 8 once again. Okay, and they have the 5 copies of the plasmid, so before division they must increase their number from 5 to 8, and then after making the one normal phenomena must happen once again. So this division must occur at that position, so that the two progeny cell that you will form must have 4 copies of the plasmid. This is a normal phenomena. This is the normal phenomena by which the 2 progeny cell is getting the exact copy of the plasmid. But this is the point. If all the 8 copies of the plasmid will getting passed to only one cell and the other cell lacks any plasmid, this is called the plasmid curing. And plasmid can avoid being lost in subsequent generation by the help of the plasmid partitioning system. We can simply calculate this thing, that what is the probability that one cell will be totally cured if we start from the 4 plasmid within a cell. If we start with the 4 plasmid within a cell, what is the probability that one cell will be cured? Imagine there are 4 plasmids present in a cell. So before division, it must be 8 copies of the plasmid. Now you have 8 copies of the plasmid. Okay. Take one plasmid. What is the probability that this plasmid, this one plasmid will be transferred to the right one cell, not the left one cell? The probability is 1 by 2. Very simple. Among the two, they will come to only one cell. They will not getting transferred to the another one. What is the probability that the second plasmid will go to the only one cell, not the second, not the left one, is going to the right one? Again 2, half. Okay, because the progeny cell is 2. So in this way, if there are 8 copies of the plasmid, what is the probability that all the plasmid will go to the only one cell, not the other? The answer will be 1 by 2 into 2 to the 1 by 2 to the power of 8. It's a very simple thing. So it must be 1 by 256. 1 by 2 means 1 by 256. So that means among 250 cells, 256 cells, one cell will be free from any plasmid. And you don't know the right one cell will be cured or left one cell will be cured, and as a result this number will be multiplied by 2. This number will be multiplied by 2 because you don't know that which cell will be cured. So the value will be actually 1 by 128. The value will be actually 1 by 128 cell will be cured because you don't know that between the left one cell or right one cell which one will be cured. Okay, so this can be calculated by some probability, but we are considering the PAR system or plasmid partitioning system, and the partitioning system says that the plasmid cannot be transferred to the one cell, not to the other cell. That means curing is not happen. Random curing is not happen. Plasmid must pass. Maybe in a cell may have a 1 copy more and in a cell may have a 1 copy less, but the plasmid must be transferred to the next generation. Okay, this is the phenomena. So for partitioning system, we have 3 important proteins. One is called the PARS. Another 2 proteins are known as the PAR A and PAR B. So these are the 3 input required, which is also called the plasmid partitioning system or the PAR system. PARS site is already present in the plasmid. So in PAR system, there are mainly 3 proteins work together so that the plasmid cannot be cured. Plasmid will pass to the next generation always. The 3 proteins are PARS protein, PAR A protein and PAR B proteins. Okay, the PARS protein will be always present in the plasmid. This is the picture. As you can see, this blackening portion of the plasmid is the PARS site. These black sites, the double-stranded plasmid DNA is there, and the black portions are the PARS site. The PARS site is already present in the plasmid. Okay, so as according to this picture, so this is the PARS, and 2 other genes are required called PAR A and PAR B, which encode trans-acting proteins. The PARS site is the site at which the 2 copies of the plasmids are pulled apart during partitioning. Okay, we will discuss this thing. What is this PAR A and PAR B can be termed as SOP, that is called stability of plasmid, for the F plasmid. So for different plasmid, different name has been given, but the phenomena is absolutely true. Okay, the phenomena is absolutely true. The PAR system of different single copy plasmids, including the P1 or the F or the R1, are remarkably similar, but their name is different. In one case, maybe PARS, PAR A, PAR B, or the F plasmid is called SOP, stability of protein, but their functions are probably very similar. How they work together? It is not exactly clearly. It is not clear exactly how the PAR A, PAR B protein function in plasmid partitioning, but it is known that many copies of the PAR B protein bind at or around the PARS site. The PARS site is the site where which is present in the plasmid. The PARS site is the site which is absolutely present in the plasmid, and many copies of the PAR B protein might work there, and so many PAR B protein can bind to the PARS site that they may block or silence any gene around the PARS site. That means you cannot see PARS. So this is the PARS. So this is the DNA, say, and this is the PARS site, and so many say PAR B protein actually bind together that you are unable to see any PARS. This is the point. So many PAR B protein actually bind there, so that you cannot actually see where is PARS present. So this is the point, that many copies of the parby protein bind at or around the Pares site. In fact, there are so many that they may block or silence any genes around the site. The Pares protein does not bind to the Pares site by itself. The Pares protein does not bind to the Pares site by itself, but the Pares protein can bind only when Parby-Pares complex is present. Okay, the Pares protein cannot bind to the Pares site directly, but it does bind with the complex of the Pares and Parby. What is the function of the Pares? The Pares protein has the ATPase activity. That means it can hydrolyze their ATP to generate some enzyme, to generate some energy, which is activated by the binding of the Parby-Pares complex. So normally Pares site is present in the plasmid, where the Parby protein can bind, and after formation of this complex, the Pares protein can come to this complex by the help of the ATPase activity. After gaining the energy, they can cleave ATP to get the energy so that they can help in plasmid partitioning. Till now, we are not discussing about how the partitioning phenomena is happening. We are discussing only the proteins that are involved in plasmid partition. We have to understand what is the method by which the partitioning system is carried upon, so that the two daughter cells must have the plasmid. So there are two models. The first model, this is the point, the first model, number A model, where you can see the two plasmids are there, and this Pares site actually bind to the cell membrane receptor type of thing. This is a particular site present within the cell. This is a particular site where the two plasmid must bind, and the site will pull apart the two plasmid to the two opposite site. So this site is already present in cell, within a cell, and via this Pares they can bind to the two ends of this site, and upon binding the two sites must be separated away, so that during division one cell will have one plasmid and another cell will have another plasmid. As a result, the two plasmid must be present in two different cells. But this model is not totally justified, because if a cell has say 600 or 700 copies of the plasmid, in that case how many such sites are present? So this is not the thing. Okay, if you have many copies of plasmid within a cell, how many such sites should be present? So that is the reason why model B comes to play, where we can see the Pares actually binds together. The two copies of the plasmid will bind together first. The two copies of the plasmid will bind together first, and upon binding they can bind to the particular site. So the Pares binding is happening first, and then upon binding they will bind to the particular site, and now the two sites is getting separated away. As a result, there is no particular importance of this site where the Pares will interact. Okay, so this the second phenomena is most applicable. That is Pares site of the daughter plasmid obligatory pair with each other before they can bind to the cellular structure. So this is the point. The Pares site of the defined plasmid, daughter plasmids obligatory pair with each other. Pares binds to each other before they can bind to the cellular structure, and this obligate pairing strategy is illustrated in that particular diagram. If the Pares site of the two daughter plasmid must bind to each other prior to their binding to the site, this site need not be unique. This is the point. That is the reason why the second model is the proper model, which actually explains how plasmid partitioning is happening. Okay.